Well, farmers and ranchers have a lot to say about the speech, and so do our nation's ag leaders, including the American Farm Bureau Federation. Joining me in studio tonight, our Market Intel Director, John Newton, and economist Veronica Nigh. Folks, thanks for joining us today. We certainly appreciate you taking the time. Now, of course, we talked to you throughout the week or week to week on the Market Intel report. Give us a little insight about you guys. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Veronica.
Well, I grew up in Northwest Missouri on a diversified livestock operation, primarily meat goats. So lots of good times on the farm. My folks still live there. Went to the University of Missouri and then moved to D.C. to work for the USDA Foreign Agricultural Service, and then I've been at American Farm Bureau now for about 7 years.
Wonderful. And yourself?
Well, I'm the first generation off the farm. My family's from Louisville, Kentucky. Is where I was raised. I did all of my graduate work at The Ohio State University, where I got my master's and PhD. But I've been doing ag work for over 10 years now. First working for the United States Department of Agriculture, working on the congressional committees. And then I've been at Farm Bureau for about a year and a half doing the market intel.
Okay, wonderful. Now, as we said, of course, the president gave his speech today. Starting things off, one of the big topics that he addressed on was tax reform. Of course, they just passed the tax package, so let's remind ourselves what he had to say regarding tax reform in the most recent policy.
To level the playing field for our great American exporters, our farmers.
Well, we're having some technical difficulties there, so let's go ahead and talk about it, because you guys heard the address today. Just passed that package. He's pretty proud of what took place.
Absolutely, and I think we all have a lot to be proud of, and it's going to really benefit rural America and America business and our citizens at large. So this is the first time we've had significant tax reform in about 3 decades. So for farmers and ranchers, it really allows, we think it will allow farmers to preserve cash flow and to make some of those investments for the future that we know we rely on. There's also a brand new provision that allows farmers to take a deduction for about 20% of their income, which really should allow for some more investment on farms and ranches and in rural America.
Anything to add to that, John?
Well, you know, he really just mentioned how much business taxes are coming down and the implications that has on not only the farmers and ranchers, but the U.S. economy. So we really wanted to hammer home how much the tax breaks really mean for rural America.
Now, I had the chance to speak with Zippy Duvall yesterday preceding the conference, and of course asking him what he hoped to hear from the president, and the president definitely talked about it, and that of course is trade and trying to improve access to the global marketplace for farmers and ranchers, and of course that all circles back to the North American Free Trade Agreement. Here's what the president had to say regarding trade. Well, we'll continue our discussion. What did you guys take away from the NAFTA conversation, or rather the trade conversation that the president shared?
Well, trade, as we've said over and over again, is incredibly important to U.S. agriculture. Almost 25% of our farm income is dependent on expanding demand in foreign countries. So the president certainly hit home his desires to relook at some of those agreements that we have in place, make sure that they're working the best they possibly can, and to see if we can have a bigger win for the U.S. economy and U.S. agriculture.
And of course, there's been a lot of uncertainty, especially considering that we pulled out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership early in his administration. So now that he's talking about NAFTA, folks are appreciating. It sounded like the room was definitely re-encouraged by what he had to say today.
Yeah, I think so. Farmers and ranchers certainly understand that the United States is a well-developed economy, and we've eaten as much of some products per capita as we can. So if we're going to continue to grow, we have to find those additional outlets for demand. So it was nice to hear him acknowledge that and to continue to talk about trade in a positive way as we know it to be for U.S. agriculture.
And of course, transitioning now, of course, in rural America, broadband is certainly a key issue. Everybody wants, they need it. Small businesses and agriculture in general both can appreciate. He definitely had some words to say there.
Well, he definitely did. He said, you know, we're going to make broadband better. We're going to give access to farmers and ranchers to have access to high-speed internet. So he signed 2 executive orders that are really meant to improve farmers' access to technology and access to broadband internet.
And before we wrap up, I want to see what your takeaway was regarding the Farm Bill as we move forward.
Well, we were really surprised to hear him first say that we're going to get a farm bill done on time. We haven't had a farm bill done on time in quite a number of years. And then the second thing, we know that the budget blueprint that Trump put out early on had some pretty significant cuts to crop insurance. But he came out and indicated that he was very supportive of the crop insurance program. So we were very, very pleased to see that.
Any follow-up to that?
Well, I would just say, just overall, that we're very pleased at what a wide-ranging speech this was from the president. It certainly reflects that he's been listening to the concerns of rural America. We talked about taxes, we talked about trade, we talked about regulatory reform, and bringing the U.S. rural economy and farms along so that we can be just as prosperous as the rest of the country. So I think we're really, really pleased with the wide-ranging nature of the speech.
And you speak of the wide-ranging nature. Something else that he also addressed was infrastructure and the fact that we've been working on the waterways and improving the locks and dam system for a lot of years. He did mention the waterways, he mentioned the highways, and he also mentioned the railroads.
That's exactly right. And I think one of the biggest takeaways from this is he said he's going to work to make agriculture great again, not just America great again. So we're very excited about the speech today.
All right. Well, of course, it's a great conversation taking place. And now as we move forward, I guess the question is funding. That's one thing that he did not address throughout his speech. He didn't say exactly how things are going to happen. He just said that they would. What do you guys have to say to that?
Well, that's always the challenge in D.C., right, and across every household in America. How do you make all the things that you want happen on a limited budget? So we'll certainly be working with Congress and the administration to see which levers we can pull and make all of those things happen and have a successful rural America as a result.
Well, we certainly appreciate you guys doing your best to help keep everybody informed as well, too. Thank you very much. Again, Secretary of